In May of this year, Gary Vaynerchuck released a brand new NFT project called Veefriends. Now, I know how to code and I thought the website looked cool, so I thought of the idea to recreate the website. So I'm going to be using Reactjs, which is a JavaScript framework, in order to recreate the website. And I'm going to be showing you guys the whole process and how I did it. So yeah, let's get started right now. So once it was compiled successfully, then it would appear on screen right there. Let's make a Veefriends clone in React.js. And now we move on to the coding. So we're going to be making our first React component called top header, which is the little like info above the main header. So making that component, so that's how you make a component in React, function, return, then you put in a div. And afterwards we're going to put in a paragraph tag, and then we're going to copy and paste the information like that. Then we're going to make a part of it bold using the strong tag to make it much easier, like that. Then we save it, and afterwards, in order for the top header to display, we need to put the component inside of the app component. So once you put in that component and we save, then it should be there, as you can see. So now let's go ahead and make another component, which is the header component. And for this one, we're going to need we're going to be putting in a div, then another div, because we're going to split it up in different sections. So we have the logo, which is why I'm putting the image tag, and we're going to put it as Veefriends logo right there in one div. And afterwards we have another div, which should be for like the nav tags. So we have making an anchor tag, and then we're going to make 3 of it, so we're going to paste 2 more, and then afterwards we're going to input the names of them right there. And then afterwards we'll put in the button, and the button is connect wallet right there. So we have the button, then we have the image, and afterwards we're putting in the header component so that way you can display up on the screen. And then boom, there you go, connect wallet right there. Then we're going to put in the class name inside of the div called nows, and then afterwards we're going to put in another class name inside of the top header div called top header. I think it was top header. And then once that's done, we're going to move on to the CSS. So now the top header div, we're going to do some styling. I'm going to give it a background color of green using the hexadecimal. Then afterwards, put in a color of white, a white color. And then you save that, and then we're gonna put in a font family, sans serif for every single element. So we save that, and that right there, the font has changed. Now we're going to put in a padding of 10 pixels right now, and we're going to text align it to the center. And that should work. There you go. So now it looks exactly like the one on the actual website. Now we're going to take in the anchor tags inside of the nav class, and then but first we're going to set all of the anchor tags to have no text decoration, which means they won't have any underline, because when they load in they usually have an underline, so as you can see, look much cleaner. And now I'm going to give it a margin right, 10 pixels for each anchor tag. in the header. There we go. So you can space out. Then I change it to 20 because I want it more spaced out. Then there we go. Now I'm going to change the color of the text to black. And there we go. Then put in a font weight which will make it more bold. And throughout this project I change it frequently. So as you can see at 800 it look kind of weird right there. Then I just change it frequently. Just constantly changing it. Until I figure out something that worked. From that, and then afterwards I settle it on the 600 font weight. Then afterwards, when we hover our mouse over the anchor tags, we want to make it display green, the same exact green that we use in the top header. And there we go. So when we hover, it will display green like that. But then we're going to add a transition, so that way when we hover over it, it's going to take 1 second to do so. So that way it's much smoother. So as you can see, when we hover, it looks way smoother when we hover over it. Then I'm going to put in a class name of header container right there. Then afterwards I have a class name of header below it. Then we're going to put in a button, header button. So that will be the button below the header. We're going to make the text color white and have a background color of black. So save that. There we go, it looks like that. Without a border, so we remove the border none. And there we go. Now we have that. Now we have a padding. Apply some padding to it, 10 pixels. Then I change it to 15. And then afterwards add a border radius. Border radius of 10 pixels. Change that. It looks like I changed it to 16 pixels. Then change it to 20. You know. So like during this whole project, I'm gonna change things frequently. Then afterwards, I change the cursor to pointer, so that way when I hover over it, it has the pointing cursor thing. And then I change the border radius to 30. Didn't really do much. Then I changed it to 50, and made the font weight 600 right there. And trying to match it to the exact website. Then afterwards I add a box shadow like that, made it black, and there we go. And then change the border radius to 46 because I got it from the inspect. So I right click on the website and click inspect, and now we're changing the font size to 14. Then now we're going to go in the header container class in CSS, and now we're going to add a box shadow to it so that way it can stand out. Afterwards, we're going to make the position sticky, so that way when we scroll down, it's going to stay up there. And afterwards, I have a padding of 20 pixels. And afterwards, a padding left, auto padding right click. I don't know why I put this. I think later on actually delete it later on because it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work, so I think I'll just delete it afterwards, honestly. So yeah, delete that. And then afterwards, header display flex. So the header elements will display flex, that way they can align just like that, exactly. But as you can see, the Veefriends and all the text is above is not aligned along the button. So that was one of the major problems that I run into when creating the header. So inspect trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what's wrong. Then I go into the navs, I try float them to the right. They didn't work, because you know the nav for the library, Gary's collection, export friends, they need to float to the right along with the button. So what I do is that I end up putting the image above the navs and they end up working. Afterwards I put the button inside of the nav diff container and I tap in. So that's what happened. So that was like one of the major issues that I had with this project. Afterwards I was putting the logo inside of the navs container like that, and then it aligned properly this time. Afterwards, function, I made another component, called main info. So this is going to be below the header. We're going to have welcome to Veefriends and whatnot, and some NFTs displayed in a grid. So we put in that component, what is Veefriends, and then we have a anchor tag in it, and then we display YouTube, and afterwards we have what is Veefriends, and then below we made a H1 called welcome to Veefriends, and afterwards our paragraph tag called again of Gary Vaynerchuck experience and whatnot. So we paste that in that long description. Then afterwards you have an input tag, text placeholder is search, and then boom, just like that. Class name for it will be info, so we say that info h1, font size 60 pixels, font weight will be 900 for the h1 inside of info, and it will look like that, so that way it's big. And afterwards I went on Google Font to try and put in a custom font that the actual website actually uses, but later on it actually doesn't work. So I tried it out, it doesn't work whatsoever, so eventually I just ended up deleting it. I just used sans serif. And afterwards the anchor tags inside of the info class, I did a text shadow, which is actually the only anchor tag in it is the YouTube tag, the one that we used to have the YouTube link. So there we go. I have a text shadow of red, and we change the color to red, just like that. Afterwards target underscore blank, so that way when we click on the tag it will show in a brand new tab. Then the font size is 12 pixels. Then the paragraph tag will have that color, which is grayish, like that, just like in the actual website, because it's a clone again. Afterwards I tried out the line height, that kind of work. Then I put in an input, border none, padding 15, change the border radius of the input field to 26 pixels, add in a box shadow like that, and then there we go, looks like that. And I got it from inspect, as you can see, from the actual website, the actual Veefriends website. Change the border to solid, 1 pixel, f4, f4, f6, which is kind of white. There we go. Then afterwards, I removed the outline, and then the width is 70%. Afterwards, the button inside of the same container, form button, border radius 46 pixels, background color, that, cursor pointer, border none, then a color of white, a white color for the text. Then we added some extra stuff, and then there we go. we had a box shadow green, and there we go. It looks exactly like on the website. We change the font size to 14 pixels, and for the paragraph I change something, and then there we go. Added some margin so that way they can space out. Then we have the image inside of the mouse, which is in the header. Added a margin right so that way they can space out. And then added a margin left and padding left to header container so that way there's some space around it. Then to the image, which is the Veefriends logo again, margin right of 400 pixels like that. Then font weight is 700 for the paragraph tag. There we go. Doesn't look too bad. Afterwards, I did a div around the input and the button inside of the main info. Then the div that we just did, added a margin top so that way there's some space at the top. Then we added another div for the image. Then we added a class name of NFT display, which is actually the class name for the NFTs that we're going to display. As you can see, so we're going to put these in a grid, display them, and we're going to paste them in, as you can see, and then boom, there we go. We have them in a grid just like that. Now we're going to go into the NFT display class in CSS, and then we're going to put in display grid. Boom. Then grid template columns auto, so that way it will display in rows of 4 or rows of 3. There you go. Then after you change that to put in grid template columns, repeat 3, and then boom, it's in a row 3. Transform, which we're going to rotate it 20 degrees like that, so as you can see. Then we're going to top 0 to make it sticky like that. Then we're going to add in a row gap to it, 20 pixels, just like that. Now we're going to get into the recent activity. So I made a div with a class name called recent, and then made a class div called cards for sale, and we're going to put in a bunch of NFT images. So I'm making a template NFT right here with a div, image, all of that, and making some more divs. As you can see, there it is. So I made a little template div right there on the bottom left, as you can see, just like that. So now we're just going to add a background to it, and then position everything. So call it NFTs for sale. Go in the class, put in a max width of 265 pixels. Made a class name NFT info for that. Then made another class name called top info, where the profile picture is, and then class name for main info, where the name of the NFT is, and then class name of price info for the last sale and the amount of ether. Then we had top info like that. In CSS, the NFT info and the price info. Going to display it as flex, so the price info going to display as flex. Put it in a row. And afterwards, the divs on the NFTs for sale, I'm going to give it a padding of 20. So the whole NFT gets a 20 pixel padding. The top info, where the profile picture and stuff is, width of 45 pixels, 45 pixel height, a border radius of 100%, and there you go. Profile picture is rounded now in a circle. So the paragraph text on the top info, border solid on 1 pixel, which is the whole like hashtag thing. Then border radius of 2 pixels, adding a padding of 10 pixels. Then text line of center, like that. And a border radius of 14 pixels. Towards a div. So when to put in a div inside of the image, put in a class name of NFT pic. And then boom, there we go. So we have a row of NFTs, we have 4 of them right there. Now we're just going to change it up. So going to the JavaScript, as you can see, NFTs for sale. And there we go, that's just an overview of them. It's a lot, but yeah, that's how we do it. So now all we need to do is just change it up, and there's some of the CSS that I did, NFT pic and some other stuff, so you can pause the video and look at it. That's all the CSS that I did for that. And like that, boom. Alright, now that we have our NFTs in recent activity, now let's go ahead and, as you can see, I put in the horizontal line over the H1 element. Now we're going to go into featured friends. Put in a div over the horizontal line and the H2 element. And now the featured, going to just copy everything from recent. So the featured will be the same as the recent activity. It's going to be the same thing, which is why we're just going to copy and paste code. We're going to also copy and paste the whole NFTs for sale. I'm going to copy and paste all of that. So adding a margin top to the title, then class name, Alright, so as you saw right there, we made FAQ right there, which will be the frequently asked questions. Put in the component, and now as you can see, we're almost done. Just need that, and then the footer, and then we're done. So adding a margin top for the whole entire element, adding 20 pixels of padding, then each one of frequently asked questions, like that. Then make a class name FAQ container, then FAQ background image. So the background image looks like that. Then H3, which is Veefriends. Then for featured, the horizontal line for featured, change up the border. Afterwards, we add in some more H3 elements, which will be the questions. As you can see, there they are. Now we're going to make the footer element. So what I decided to do was to actually just, instead of just styling. I'm just going to lay out all of the elements, then afterwards style them later, instead of just laying down the elements and just doing the CSS all at once. So now I'll put a div around h1 and the h2, input type text to email placeholder, then put a button beside it called join us, which is like the newsletter. Afterwards follow Veefriends, then the Discord, no, the social media link, sorry, then another horizontal line, and some more. Now add in another div, which is Veefriends LLC 2021, and then above it is Gary Vee's signature, should be. Afterwards you add in some list items right there. That's where you have footer items, display flex right there. There we go. Afterwards I added an H4, which is like a little title for each of them. And I set it like that. Need some more paragraph elements. And I set all of them into an anchor tag. As you can see, it's a lineup, so I'm going to put in footer items where all of the anchor tags, display them as blocks, so boom, it will align like that. Now we just need to put in a margin, so footer, then background color black, then add a white color to the text, and there we go. That's how the footer looks like for now. Then a div, horizontal line, and then Gary Vee signature, privacy policy right there. So just more, paragraph tags, images powered by nameless, and there we go. That's how the footer looks like, and that's all we have so far. Then I'll put in a class name of footer end, then change up the style, display flex, and there we go. Now FAQ, the H3 under FAQ, when it hovers, going to have a green color, just like that. And after, just change the cursor to pointer, so that way you'll be able to have that cursor. Padding left of 130 pixels. FAQ continue. Padding top 30 pixels. Padding bottom of 30 pixels as well. Then a padding 30 pixels for the container. Margin bottom 40 pixels. Then I change it to 50, and there we go. That's the FAQ section right there. Afterwards, add a class name of footer bottom. Then the div below footer, margin left, like that. Then footer, the horizontal lines under footer, set the margin for it, and there you go. Look like that. That way they run along the element. Then we'll put all of that under a div, put in a class name of footer top, which is the top section of the footer. Afterwards, made another div, indent those elements inside that div. Then I called it, I think it's footer middle. Yep, footer middle. Then footer top, bottom, and middle. So all of them. So all these elements, we're going to make it display effects, and there we go. That's how it look. Afterwards, I changed footer items to footer middle items because they're in the middle. So that way it's more specific. Footer middle items. So the anchor tags below them, there'll be a color like that. Then what are we doing here? The border solid, 1 pixel. Boom. The footer button, hover. Then change the privacy policy to an anchor tag in footer bottom. Then the anchor tag under footer, they're going to have a color of white. Then footer bottom, the images under footer bottom, margin right. I'm gonna set the margin for it. I'm going to increase it after a while. Footer bottom, the anchor tag under it, so they can space out. Then the div in footer middle items, margin right. Then ID of newsletter. Then footer top newsletter, margin right. ID signature. Then the footer middle signature. So the signature will have a margin right, 544, and there we go. That's exactly how the footer looks. So it's coming together now. We're almost done. So everything under footer middle items, we're gonna have a margin bottom, and it looks like that. Then the top footer, the divs inside of it have a margin bottom of there we go, so that way they can space out from top to bottom. Then newsletter input, so the input in under the newsletter ID, no border radius of 20 pixels, a padding of 6, outline none, as you can see, then a width of 80. So what we're trying to do is that I'm trying to put the button inside of the input tag, which I would figure out later on. Then afterwards, border none, border radius 46 pixels, cursor pointer, have a box shadow for the button with those. So then I add a green color to it, then a background color of, let's see, green again, light green, then a text color of white, then padding to it, and there we go, we have our button, just like that. Now right here I'm trying to make the button go inside of the input field. It was a struggle, like eventually I figured out how to do so, but yeah, I tried everything, and then eventually I just left it like that. and then afterwards I ended up figuring out, so I changed the font size to 15 pixels, and then yeah. Oh, basically done. Just need to fix this up, and then yeah, I'm basically done. So I think I'll just do that and show you guys some other time. So there it is in all of its glory. We've completed the project, and there it is. Everything looks exactly like the real website. So yeah, that will be it for this video. We're done. This is it, finally. So yeah, peace out. If you guys want the code base for this project, then be sure to check out my GitHub, link in the description. That's it. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.